The problem with comfort. The human mind is wired to seek safety. It is an evolutionary inheritance that kept us alive for millennia. But that same programming, when left unchallenged, keeps us small. It whispers that it is better not to risk, not to try, not to expose too much. That failure is a catastrophe, not a lesson. The ordinary person lives inside that whisper. The champion has learned to hear it, and moves forward anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something matters more than the fear. The champion feels everything the ordinary person feels, but acts differently. Make no mistake, the great achievers of history also doubted themselves. They also had nights when they wanted to give up. The difference is that they built a mindset capable of carrying that weight without breaking, and, more than that, capable of using that weight as fuel. The discipline nobody sees. There is a false romanticism around the idea of talent. People admire the result and ignore the process. They see the athlete in the Olympic final, but they do not see the 5 years of training at 6 in the morning. They see the entrepreneur on stage, but they do not see the hundreds of meetings that ended with closed doors. They see the award-winning artist, but they do not see the torn canvases on the studio floor. The champion's mindset understands something most people reject. Discipline is not a burden. It is a form of love. Love for what you want to build. Love for the version of yourself that is still yet to come. Every consistent action, repeated in silence and without an audience, is a brick in that construction. The ordinary person waits for motivation to act. The champion acts in order to find motivation. That inversion changes everything. Failure, the most honest teacher. No champion reached the top without accumulating an impressive collection of failures. Michael Jordan was cut from his school basketball team. J.K. Rowling had her manuscript rejected by 12 different publishers. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times before lighting the first bulb. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lack of imagination. What these people had in common was not the absence of failure. It was the refusal to let failure define the narrative. They understood that every fall is information. Every mistake is a map showing where not to go. Every defeat is a strategic revision opportunity that the winner too eager to grow would never have. Failure only has the power to destroy when you allow it to be the end of the story. For the champion, it is always just one more chapter, and never the last. The growth mindset, the one that sees human capacities not as fixed, but as expandable, is the foundation upon which all great achievements are built. It transforms I can't into I can't yet. It transforms I failed into I learned. And that linguistic transformation is not naivety. It is the architecture of resilience. The power of environment and silent choices. You are, in large part, the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That phrase, attributed to Jim Rohn, is uncomfortable because it is true. Mindset does not exist in a vacuum. It is constantly shaped by your environment, your conversations, the stories you consume, and the people you allow to influence your worldview. The champion is surgical about these choices. Not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. They know that mediocrity is just as contagious as excellence, and deliberately choose to expose themselves to the latter. They choose readings that expand, conversations that build, relationships that challenge and elevate. And there are the smaller, invisible choices that define character more than any major decision. Getting up when the alarm goes off, instead of hitting snooze for the 4th time. Keeping the promises made to yourself, even without witnesses. Resisting distraction when the important work calls. These are the silent choices, repeated day after day, that sculpt the identity of a champion. The decision that changes everything. In the end, the mindset that separates champions from the ordinary comes down to one fundamental decision. The decision to be the protagonist of your own life, not a spectator. To accept total responsibility, not as punishment, but as power. Because only those who take responsibility also have the power to change. The ordinary person blames circumstances, time, the people around them, luck. And in doing so, they hand over control of their own path to external factors. The champion knows they do not control everything that happens to them, but they have complete control over how they respond. And it is in that response that all the difference lies. You do not need to be born a genius. You do not need perfect circumstances. You do not need to wait for the right moment. You need only a decision, made today, right now, in this very moment, that you will be different. That you will train your mind the way an athlete trains their body. That you will face every obstacle as a stepping stone, not a wall. that you will honor the process even when the results have not yet appeared. Champions are not made on days of glory. They are built in silence, in every anonymous choice, in every new beginning after every fall, in every yes given to the best of themselves when everything seemed to demand the opposite. The line that separates champions from the ordinary is not out there. It is inside you. And today, in this very moment, you have the power to cross it. The question was never whether you are capable. The question is, will you decide to be?